Hello and welcome to my first ever YouTube video. I would like to share with you how someone who was a Buddhist for over 19 years suddenly becomes a devoted follower of Jesus Christ. As a child, I was introduced to Christianity like most people through school assembly or Sunday school. But I wasn't especially drawn to religion because my family weren't religious and it was generally made fun of. The only time I would read a Bible was when a lady came to our school at primary school and she gave us a little Gideon Bible, which was easy enough to be read in bed if you got, sent to bed for doing something wrong. Now, I chose Buddhism after becoming involved with the spiritualist church through a friend who was a regular attender, and I was invited to go along and see what was happening. So I ended up becoming a member of the committee for a few years, and then I saw this book in the library, so I picked that up, and it spoke about peace, leading a more peaceful life. Now, I was curious to know what it was all about, because I didn't know that I was becoming so fed up with the way my life was going. Because of an abusive childhood, I often had bouts of depression, severe depression, and saw Buddhism as a way of being, a way of getting some peace. And I found comfort in the moral way that Buddhists live, where you could give up judging other people and you could learn to be kind and compassionate and even love your enemies and be patient and grateful for what you've got. So that suited me. So there was a lot to learn. So I bought tons of books and followed it like a manual, but I wasn't perfect and I'm still not. I even went down to the Samiling Buddhist Centre in Dumfriesshire and had a beautiful day. It was a really nice day. And over the years of following Buddhism, I came less like a rough brick that I was, because I was quite wild when I was younger, and a little more smoother in my character, but I still didn't find the true peace that I subconsciously was looking for. I couldn't understand why. I was taught that peace would come from when we stopped being hateful, when we stopped being selfish, and when we stopped judging and everything. But for me, it was like I'd learnt a lot, and I'd learnt compassion and learnt how to love, but I still had this hole in the centre of me that was empty. And I didn't think of Jesus. I didn't think of Jesus filling that hole at all. I had some thoughts about God, that there might be a being out there, but not for Jesus. I thought he had died years ago, or that it might just be a story for children, that he didn't actually exist. And I think that's what a lot of people think today when they think of Jesus, is they don't see him or hear him in their life. So, in this hectic life, why are we going to believe that? So I've always tried to find where my place is in the universe, and think it's like a jigsaw puzzle. If I read enough, it would all just come together, and it didn't really. I still had lots of questions. The one thing, though, I will say is that I've noticed that the churches are emptier these days, and they don't seem to be as popular as they used to be. And I thought, as I say, that it's because a lot of people don't believe that Jesus exists, And I didn't want to contemplate being taken for a fool, believing in something that wasn't real, devoting most of my life to something that, I couldn't agree with. Because terrible things have happened, and where is he? This was my reasoning at the time, and a lot of people think like that, and I totally understand it. So that could be the reason why people don't follow him, this belief that he doesn't exist. Now, a few generations ago, you might remember parents went to church on a Sunday. Christianity was taught, in the village or town by the minister and the priest, and they used to get a lot of respect. And there was a lot of respect in the community, and there was more morals in the places. But now, authority figures don't seem to get that respect anymore. And I think it's because people don't go to church. They don't learn all about this morality, There's a lot of morality there. And So how did I come to find Jesus? Well, in truth, he actually found me. During my life, I'd had a lot of questions about the Bible. I spent a lot of time in endless searches, trying to find answers. And my problem was I was trying to use logic to rationalise something that is supernatural in nature, because if you look in the Bible, there's a lot of supernatural things happen. And so I was trying to rationalise it rather than accepting the truth of the Bible by faith, because there's a lot of, it tells you in the Bible to use faith rather than logic to understand it. And because Ephesians 2 verse 8 says, "For by grace you have been saved through faith, and not of yourself, it is the gift of God." Well, the Bible is a record of man's creation and relationship with his Creator. It was written by men who received the word from God for his people. And the secret to getting to know Jesus is absolutely simple. It's so simple it's often overlooked. It's glossed over. Like a diamond sitting in plain sight, people pass it by. They're not interested in not knowing its true value. In 2018, I was seriously depressed once again. I wasn't going out. I was in a seriously dark place in my life. I like cross-stitch and reading and solitary projects, but I hated going to appointments or going out in general. But I had a support worker, and I met with her once a week, and she would try to get me out and into social places, but it really wasn't happening. And she was terrific, and she asked me if I was willing to get involved with some social activity. And because she knew I liked crafting, so she referred me to this place called The Cabin. And it had different groups going on. There was groups for men, there was dancing and other things like that, but they had a craft group that went on a Wednesday, and it was just a couple hours, and it was run by a Christian, and had some Christians in there that attended, but there was also other people who, like myself, who didn't have any sort of, because I saw Buddhism as a science rather than a religion, so I didn't feel I had a religious basis. But it was just ordinary people there, you know, as I say, like not Christians. So I would go, but I found them really kind. They were really kind, and they didn't try to preach to me. And we used to joke about me being a Buddhist that would smite me with Bibles and things. We used to have a joke about it. But, you know, we respected each other, and it was. And I even went to church a couple of times just to be respectful of their faith, because they were respectful of mine, and I just thought I would have a look, but nothing happened. I wasn't drawn to Jesus or thought about coming into Christianity or anything like that. So life kind of plodded on. Anyway, things started to happen. I noticed them over a course of months. I suddenly got interested in a vicar programme that was on the TV, and I didn't understand why. I wasn't interested in Christianity, and so I just thought, maybe I'm just interested in the life of a vicar. And then on YouTube, when I'd go on YouTube at night, I would see adverts for Jesus Christ, and I would just, take them off. And the next night, there was another one, and I took it off again, and the next night another one, and I took it off again, and then that was it. I never saw another one. However, it started to get more, it kind of come to a head when I got invited by the Christian friends that I knew to go to the pastor of the church's birthday party, because it was going to be a special one. So this is how it happened. So I went, and we got there, and there was cake, and there was him singing and things like that. And but then when I was looking at the screen, they had a big screen up, to let you understand, that had the hymns on it so that everybody could sing along. And I suddenly noticed words were kind of jumping off the page at me, not supernaturally, but just they were saying something to me about my depression and about the way I was feeling. And I started to feel quite sad, and I started to feel quite, like I had this emptiness inside of me, and that I was never going to find the peace I was looking for, that I was never going to be happy, that I was never going to be whole. I was always going to be this sad, depressed person. And so I wanted to speak to the pastor after the party to say to her, look, you got any words of wisdom for me? So I remember that the party ended, and the pastor got up to the pulpit and started speaking to people and saying thank you for the gifts and the presents and everything, just to everybody. And then she suddenly turned to me, just out of that, and she just said, I can't remember all the words, but she said everything that was in here. And I don't know how she knew. I just don't know how she knew, I was so flummoxed. I burst into tears. She told me about all the emptiness. She told me about this ache, this hunger in my heart, this everything. And I just didn't know how she knew. And so I burst into tears. I burst into tears in front of everybody and said thank you for that message. That was lovely. So I intended after the party to go and speak to her and say thanks for that message, And she came to me and she said, do you want me to pray for you? And I said, or you want me to pray with you? And I said, yeah, I didn't think there was any harm in that. Yeah, sure. So, because I was a bit amazed. And so we sat, and there was a reverend on one side, and there was another lady who I didn't know on the other side, and there was the pastor in the middle. And she laid her hands upon my head, and all she said to me, when my hands were clasped, were, Caroline, how do you want this to go? And I remember in my head I seen this huge waterfall, and it felt as if I was falling over into the water, into this waterfall. And she turned, and I said, I would like to give my life to Jesus. I'll follow him all the days of my life. And that was it. That was it. I just, as I say, I fell over that waterfall, and knew then that I'd been saved. And I felt so much better. I just felt as if a huge weight had been lifted. But also, like any normal person, I'm sitting there thinking, what have I just said? Why did I say that? And so I was a bit shocked. And I went home and I spoke to my husband, and he was shocked because he knows that I used to say all the time, oh, I didn't agree with this with the Bible, I didn't agree with that, I'm not following Jesus for this and whatnot, I'm quite happy with Buddhism and whatever. And he was amazed, and he didn't believe it at first, because I was such a staunch defender of my faith rather than, or the science that I was following rather than, So I became baptised. I got baptised on my birthday. I asked to be baptised, which I also found weird because I didn't know that, you had to. But I just suddenly felt the need to become baptised. And I would say to anybody that if you doubt that Jesus exists, then I just ask you, and if you're in trouble and you want some comfort, then all I say to you, and it's as simple as try praying. All you have to do is pray and ask Jesus to come into your life. But it's made me so happy. I notice changes every day. And so I just want to share with you how an ordinary person, a normal person who had no belief in Jesus, believes he exists, because I feel him every day. He's with me all the time. And I can't see him, but I feel him. And I know he's there. And so I'll end this video by saying, try praying. But you have to believe. You have to believe he exists. Just try it. Well, thank you for listening.